I
Okay.
think we were.
I
I
am
think we
so
were.
glad to finally meet you. It's
How are
amazing.
you? You're lovely.
Fine.
You look like
I
a nice, lovely person.
I thank you. You too. I'm in love with your work on the big flower fight. I feel amazed, and I thought I really need to meet these guys and to understand why this passion for flowers and for nature. I've been in the Kew Gardens, and I've seen
Yeah.
your very well. You're working with those gardens, but please explain me how you discover your passion for flowers, and how you, yes, how you started to work with flowers.
Oh my God. Well, it wasn't. It wasn't sort of like an immediate, easy. I saw a flower and I fell in love immediately. My background is in fine art,
Okay.
and
Uh-huh.
I went to a very traditional art college in Denmark,
Okay.
and that was a bit too traditional for me. So I was probably a bit of a rebel there. And sorry, and I moved to the capital, to Copenhagen, and a friend of mine had a gallery there that was also a flower shop.
Mm-hmm.
So I had an exhibition there, and every now and again, when my friend had to go and do his deliveries, he would say to me, "Can you look after the shop?" I go and do the deliveries, and I'm like, I have literally no idea what to do if anyone comes in and asks me anything. But it sort of opened my eyes a little bit that flowers have got interesting shapes and colors, and if you just hold up flowers next to a wall, like on a 2D plane, it's all actually quite abstract,
Mm-hmm.
and it's all these sort of strange shapes and colors. Um, so that opened my eye um, for a moment. Then I traveled around a bit more. I moved to London. I started an art studio over here in London. And then I was suddenly met with this problem of trying to fund myself being an artist in London. And sort of light bulb moment thing was flower stall, flowers.
Wow.
And where in the complex where I had my studio, there was a tiny little flower shop down in one corner. So I went in there, bold as brass, and said to this Dutch woman, "You need me to work in your flower shop." And she just like looked at me and said, "No, I don't." But my boss has this wholesale place where he was selling wholesale flowers. You know what I mean by wholesale?
No.
To
No, I
the
never heard that word before.
you probably use another word, but it's like when you sell to the trade.
Okay. Oh yes, like a huge amount of flowers. No.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So so he had this what they have in London going back to sort of Victorian times
Mm-hmm.
is they have a lot of these big arches underneath railway tracks,
Mm-hmm.
right in the middle of London, throughout London. There's these big arches. And he had this big arch, it was about 3,000 square foot or something. And so I was sitting there, no experience, selling flowers to florists. And this was all like really tough East End of London florists, you know, who'd been doing it for years and years and years, taking no prisoners. And I was just sitting there, sort of, what's this one called? What's this one called? No idea. But it was a really good learning exercise because it was more than 20 years ago. Everything had to be written down on a chalkboard with chalk, all the prices. So every day when I went to work, I had to write down every single flower and the price and put them in hopefully the right box so people knew
Uh-huh.
what they were paying for. So it taught me how what flowers are called basically. It taught me how things last, how to look after them better. You know, when they arrive from Holland, you have to make sure you give them lots of water, all this kind of thing.
And
How
the
to look after them.
temperature, and
Yes, yes,
mhm.
yes. I mean, it was a very cold, damp arch. these railway arches are they're not really meant for human occupation. They're really
Okay.
just there to sort of prop these railway lines up. Um, so not the healthiest place to be. And then after a couple of years, so I was doing that a couple of days a week. Then I was doing my painting on the side, organizing lots of shows with my
But you
mates
are not painting anything related with flowers. I mean, you just painting another thing.
in the beginning.
Okay.
And then, of course, the flowers took over my life completely.
Okay.
And
Because they are
then,
very difficult to draw. I mean, in terms of watercolors, but it's very demanding. I mean, in terms of observation.
that is true, but you can sort of start at any point. You can either go really close in and
Hmm.
concentrate on like the colors and the shape on a sort of macro scale, or you can go
Yes.
just have it as a composition
Yes.
of
Yes.
color.
Yes.
It could be like a starting point. It could be like sort of, or it could be if you use an arrangement of all one color almost, it's more like a study in texture as well. Anyway, I was doing lots of different things. A lot of them was quite sort of Andy Warhol pop art like.
Yeah. Like me, I painted this. So
Yeah,
I'm absolutely yes in pop art. Yes. Do
very
you
good.
know this artist called Jan Hendricks? He's from Amsterdam, but he lives in Mexico.
No.
I'm going to send you his work because he works with plants and I mean with the structures, and then he made jewelry and he made buildings here. But that's how I get close to the Kew Gardens, because he was supposed to have an exhibition this year, but unfortunately it was cancelled. But this he brought me a book with all these flowers, and then I understand that it was huge, and then the show, and I said, oh my god, the world wants me to see the flowers in some way. But well, okay, continue. Sorry, I just wanted
So,
to
so are you here? Are you here in London?
Yes, I lived in London 2000 and 2011.
All right. Okay. I see. I see. Yes, it's a nice city, isn't it?
Yes, I love it.
I tried a few different places. I lived in Berlin and in Paris and sort of around the place. But it was when I came to London I just fell in love. There's something about how you could disappear that I quite like. Whereas I found in all the other places I lived, you very quickly, if you're outgoing and if you want to do something with your life, you can very quickly become like a superstar, even in your own little small environment.
Yes.
Whereas there's none of that in London. No one cares who you are. It's like, you're gonna have to work really hard to become anything in London. It's a bit like that New York thing they say about if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere kind of
Yes.
thing. And I think I strive on competition and being surrounded by people who might be better than you as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very good driver in terms of your own work and how to get on in life, I think.
Yeah.
I don't want.
Yes. Sorry, sir. Hmm.
What was you going to say? I was just going to say that I don't really want to be a small fish in a small pond or big fish in a small pond or however the saying goes. What were you going to say?
Um, I actually didn't know that this was a huge work. I mean, in Mexico we do have like market flowers, or the person who puts the flowers in the weddings. But what you did in this show really amazes, because we never, well, at least me or my friends who are very who love plants, and in their homes, as gardening also took this amazing interest for the people who are on quarantine. We never thought that you could actually go in that way, in that term. But I think that the work of Hank and you showed a lot of knowledge. I mean, even in the first exercise till the end, you you show that that passion, but also it was ruled. I mean, all the competition was ruled by art. It was not something that the florist could do. You need to have like the concept and the structure, and the everything related with art and with even with architecture. I don't know how
Now,
what you've learned.
I'm actually really pleased that that's how it came across,
Yes.
because I think it was what they wanted to achieve with the program, but we didn't necessarily know that when we entered the program, because I've done lots of flower competition work, which is sort of like a discipline in itself, which is all about sort of making complicated structures and lots of techniques and that sort of thing.
Hmm.
And it gets judged by sort of very strict rules of something called the 9 elements of design. And don't ask me what they are because I don't follow the rules that strictly. Um, but that's what I thought it was. I thought the program was going to be a flower competition, but it turned out to be something completely different. Um,
Absolutely.
and because both Henk and I have a sort of an artist background to some degree or another, I think we're sort of good at it's sort of a lot of things. We're good at seeing things from an artistic perspective. So that's one thing. I think because we both work in events, we're used to having a time pressure.
Hmm.
So often when you do an event, you're going to have to do a massive function, and you might only have like 3-4 hours to do all the
Yes.
work. So we're used to sort of arriving, get things done, none of this sitting around, having a break, get on and do the job. So we're very good at that. And because of just having done it for years and years and years, we're quick anyway, with sort of with our skills. And I think when
But
you've
what
done it,
what I am very glad to see on the screen is that you and Hank were very peaceful. I mean, you at least you are like in the turtle structure. You even have time to make small turtles, and you were like very easygoing. And I said that I want to be like that. I need to be like that because a lot of people with the pressure is like, quickly, quickly. But no, you were
yeah.
like very, very easygoing. I don't know. I loved it.
Yes, I think it might have annoyed a few people that we were just so quick. I mean, it was
No.
we had so much fun with it as well because in the first episode with the pollinators, um, and I was sawing all that bamboo for
Mm-hmm.
hours and hours and hours and hours. This After that episode, to realize we're gonna have to get some proper machines to do this stuff because we can't have him standing there and sawing and making all the audio completely impossible for days now. Um, we had all these pieces of bamboo left over after we finished. So we actually made a little shop of things we made. So
Oh, wow.
we made some sunglasses and some bags and some chains and just, silly stuff. And then that's when we realized, okay, these guys have got too much time. We're going to have to shorten all the challenges, and we're going to have to get some proper mechanical stuff in there so they can do things quicker in terms of
Yes.
all the sawing and that sort of thing. Yeah, we had a lot of fun with it, and you probably noticed that Helen and Andy were sometimes struggling a bit with their timing. Um,
Yes.
we spent most of the last day of all challenges just helping them out because they were always hopelessly behind.
Ah.
Did you know that every episode took a whole week to shoot?
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh.
it, it was. We would arrive at the
No.
hotel
Mm-hmm.
on a Monday to just sort of settle in, whatever. Then on a Tuesday and a Wednesday we would be building something. Then on a Thursday they would be moving things around and setting the tent up for like the final shot kind of thing. And we'll be doing all these sort of face to face. They call them pods. when we're
Mm,
talking directly to camera kind of thing.
yes.
Um, and then the Friday it would be the Judgment Day, and then we'd go home, and you wouldn't
Oh,
know.
only because in the screen it says like 12 hours or 10 hours. And
Yeah,
the I was worried about the flowers that could last, and it was not
so were
down.
we.
Yes.
So were we. Um, yeah, so if it was like 10 hours shooting, it would be maybe 6 hour one day, 4 hours next day, kind of
Mm,
thing, and then
yes.
maybe a little bit of
And
touch
the
up because a lot of.
rain, it was very, no, no, no.
And if it wasn't the rain, it was the heat, and if it wasn't the heat, it was the wind, and there was
Yes, I
always
can
something going
imagine.
on with the weather. Um, but sometimes they moved the structures really quite far. I mean, when we did the Thrones
Yes,
in
the
episode
thrones.
4,
Yes.
um, they were in the tent to start with, and then when we came back, they were in the field, which was like,
Yes.
you
Uh-huh.
know,
It
half a
has no
kilometer
protection at
west.
all. Uh-huh.
Yeah, and we built that massive big horn for it to be inside.
Beautiful. Yes.
And when we were there, it was like, Jesus, this thing is going to fall over with the wind. It go a bit, but
Oh.
there you go. They told us it was meant to be fit for a castle, and there's a big castle next door to where we were shooting. So we were like, yes, we're going to go to the castle.
Uh-huh.
But they took us to the field instead.
Yes, but I mean the creativity you showed and the for us at least in quarantine was like amazing. I don't know if you expected to be shown in this time during this time, but it was a huge light for us because it shows a lot of creativity, a lot of strategy, and creation. It was all about art. Well, a lot of shows probably on Netflix, on other reality shows was about to make a small decoration or to show a lot of conflicts. But this was not. This was just to show who you are and how you share the word and how you share the perspective of art. That is very important, at least for the Europe part. I mean, in Mexico we do have like some on the ground. We make some figures, but I wish more Mexicans can replicate what you've done there.
Well, I mean, we're desperate to go out and show everybody
Come, please.
where stuff.
Yes.
I mean, we've been really touched by. I mean, Netflix is such a strange phenomenon. It goes worldwide at the same time,
Yes.
and we've had an enormously fantastically positive response from especially Latin America.
Yes.
And it's sort of heartbreaking because I don't speak Spanish, so I can't reply to you when they write these long messages in Spanish, and I'm like, what do I do
It's
now? But it's been amazing, and we as soon as it's possible, we just want to go travel and we want to just show people stuff. And we're trying to set up something up with there's a wedding fair in Colombia where we're trying to do like some online tutorials and things.
you went to Colombia actually, no? In the past. Or
No,
no? Ah,
no,
okay. Because I saw his story in Instagram, but I was not sure.
yeah, no. We've been talking with them for a while and trying to figure out how we can do this.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's had a good response. So we'll probably do something there. We might go there next year.
Mm-hmm.
And Sarah from the program, she has already an existing business traveling
Yes.
around America doing
Mm-hmm.
her things. And she said from the beginning of when we did the show that she wanted us to join her and go around with her, but we just can't do that. We finished shooting all this in October last year.
Mm-hmm.
And we knew that it was going to come out sort of roughly that sort of time, but obviously we didn't know what else was going to happen. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So we thought that as soon as this would drop, we would just be out there, doing festivals, doing workshops, doing parties and events, travel the world.
Yes.
So we've just been sitting there watching ourselves.
But
So
absolutely, it changed your perspective about your future and your future as an artist. What you've been changing, probably your plans from now on.
oh, I mean, everybody all over have had to rethink how do we do things? What do we do? Do we even do it anymore? Almost. So it's yeah, everything has to, because one thing I did just before the program came out, because I was feeling really isolated. I had nothing to do. All work had completely dried up. So I started doing these really small scale still lives,
Okay.
which would involve like an edible thing, a plant or flower, and something man-made. So I
Okay.
made these quirky little things, which would you can see them on my
Is
website,
there? Hmm.
and deep down in my Instagram feed, they're all there. But yeah, they kept me alive. I mean, I don't know what I would have done if it was like 2 months where I just was doing little still lives every day just to sort of keep that. And it was just maybe things I found in the fridge,
Wow.
um,
Uh-huh.
things I found on the side of the road in terms of the flowers. Sometimes it was like just like a discarded Coca-Cola bottle or whatever, something. It was just other soft drinks are available. um, and yeah, and then of course when the program came out and all this sort of love just started flooding in, it was just, I mean, completely overwhelming. I mean, it's impossible to put into words just how we were all completely blown away by the reaction to the program. So so there you go. But we're sort of putting some plans together at the moment. I mean, everything is baby steps. Because I thought rather than us trying to set up a completely new school or set up in London,
Hmm.
I have been talking to flower schools around the UK,
How many
and
flower schools are in the UK?
oh, there's quite a lot
Oh
actually.
yes, wow, that's so interesting. Uh-huh.
um,
But is there
I sort of
any you can have like the degree in flowers, or how is the education in flowers in the UK?
oh, you can do it. There is a sort of there is a degree. I can't remember. It's some kind of diploma over here.
Uh-huh.
Um, where I think there's like five levels you have to take. Um, but you can also just take like flower courses. I mean, some flower schools will offer like they call it like a professional or from beginning to end type how to become a florist kind of thing.
But I mean,
Um,
it's perceived as a technical career. It's not like a full degree, like probably in arts.
um, it's probably more sort of like on the same level as if you were taking yeah, some kind of skill or craft based
Yes. Hmm.
thing. Like to do similar sort of things in sort of video making
Yes.
or those kind of things.
Okay.
So it's not like a university degree,
Hmm.
but you can take up to a quite high level of it. Um, I'm of course completely self-taught, so
But
I haven't
it's
got any friends to
great.
pay them.
Hmm.
Um, I've only got all the awards that I've won in all the various competitions, but that's another story.
No, for example, in the Kew Gardens, all the knowledge you can see and all the kind of flowers. I mean, for the visitors, it's very it's great to have places like that to preserve the nature and the knowledge and all the work that a lot of British well from studied biologists and from the Navy. I mean, a lot of people have studied these plants, and this place is amazing. But
Yeah, well, I mean, everything in Kew is they are scientists. That's a
yes.
completely different thing. It's to do with botany, and James Wong, who was the guest judge on episode 4, he works there, and he's a fully qualified, whatever it's called, I'm not quite sure right now. But he's got a brain the size of Einstein, that man. He's a very, very clever man. But you don't need to know all those things when you're just using flowers as a medium. And sometimes the naivety that comes with not knowing exactly who discovered that lily somewhere,
Yes.
and all that, that you're just using it in a very sort of childlike, direct way. It's a much more pure, much more beautiful way of using flowers, I think. Which I think that's why that anyone, even with no knowledge, they can just grab a flower and do something with it, even if it's just sticking it in a vase.
Yeah,
It's a
it's the
very
power of
approachable.
of a flower. I mean, in the times where we are in our home, just to have a living plant on your home changes everything. I mean, we just discovered that recently. I mean, for a few of us, but it has a lot of power to have another living entity on your home.
Yeah, and plants have become huge in the UK. Indoor plants. It's been a massive thing. And there's something really, really soothing and therapeutic about, taking all your plants off the shelves, giving them a nice wash,
Yes.
cleaning the shelf, and then arranging them again in a slightly different way. And it's all standing there looking fresh and new. It's
It's
just
like a
wonderful.
ritual.
It is,
Yes.
completely, totally. And then when there's a new leaf or there's a new flower, it's like, yes, I did that.
Yes, I am starting my
Like,
small garden with lettuce and well, at least some flowers are in the garden now, but a lot of my friends here are starting to cultivate their food. I mean, in terms of tomatoes and grapes, everything now.
yeah.
But I wanted to close this interview with the ethics of flowers. I mean, we saw a lot of flowers on the show, but most of the people do understand that their colors and their shapes are very attractive, but we do not know where they came from, what was the work behind the to harvest the well, not harvest, or to bring the flower to the place. And
Mm.
at least in Mexico we have some, well, not problems, but we do believe that the people who cultivate these flowers need to be more recognized, be more paid, have a fair trade with these people. What
Yeah.
do you think about this in the UK? Do you have any sort of problems of cultivating flowers and the trade?
Um, well, this is obviously a huge political issue. Anything to do with having cheap labor and that sort of thing. And in the UK particularly, that links into the whole Brexit scenario, because most of the people who do that kind of work have tended to come from Europe. Um, but all that put aside, I think that generally in the UK, how things are sourced is usually very environmentally friendly and done in quite ethically good ways. There's also been a huge rise in sort of local small-scale growers in London and the area. So for most of the year, you can get things grown very locally. So that's great progress. Also, because we have the tunnel to Europe
Mm-hmm.
and to Holland, we can get things that I mean, the Dutch, because they've got a relatively small area of country,
Mm-hmm.
are extremely good at making sure they don't pollute what they have. So that everything that's grown there is grown sometimes not even in soil. It's sort of grown just in this sort of medium. So there's no pollution. It doesn't get washed into the river. It's a completely closed loop where everything goes back into where it was before. So I have no problems getting all my exotic flowers in the winter from them. They have the most amazing Vanda orchids and anthuriums, all these kind of things over there. And that just, it's not flown, it's just put on trains or lorries and comes in. So yes, it's not ideal, but it's not as bad as it could be. And I think, I mean, there's been, we have something in London called Chelsea in Bloom.
Okay.
It's at the same time as the very prestigious Chelsea Flower Show. And it's basically the whole area around Chelsea Flower Show, Sloane Square, King's Road, those areas. They decorate all their shops according to a theme on the outside. And it lasts for like a month. And that has been going for like 10 years. And that is getting bigger and bigger and bigger every year. Up until this year when it was like, stop. So
it was it's in March, right? On April?
May.
May, okay.
Yeah, end of May. Or most of May, and then the flower show is at the end of May, last week. So it'll be interesting to see how it all comes back, whether shops have got budgets for these kind of things again. It's impossible to say. I mean, I think most people have just completely written off 2020. It's going to be a year where we just sort of,
we just watch Netflix.
But,
yes.
No, but I think we've all learned a lot as well. I think we've all learned that we need to talk to each other more. We need to stay in contact more. There is small things that are important, really. It's small things that touches us, and I don't know whether that was why we resonated so well, because we were there for each other a lot on the show, not even just within the teams, but between the various teams as well. And I think it's a sort of message of we can do it together. And I think that's the message that we need right now, that we can do it together, but we've all got to be sort of almost on the same page. And I think what we're finding out now, and for the rest of the years, we're going to find out how we're going to sort all these issues out of inequality and all those political hot potatoes that we've been too scared to talk about.
Yes.
And I think they seem to be gradually sorting themselves out now. I think people are beginning to realize that, yes, okay, let's talk about this, let's sort it out.
Yes, I understand, and I hope you can come to Mexico and see our Day of Death show, because we have a lot of flowers decoration, and I think that you can explore even the north part where there is cactus and flowers that come in the desert. It's absolutely, I mean, amazing, and if you like to
Will you show me, Alina?
Yes, I lived in the north of Mexico in Saltillo, where they discovered dinosaurs, and I can be your guide, your tour guide. I will be so pleased. But
well, that's a date.
Yeah, please, and you will understand why we do love colors so much, because we do have a lot of color in our in our gardens, in everywhere. So probably to understand like the whole nature and the variety and the textures and even the markets here of flowers, you will be amazed of how much variety we do have, and probably we do not know what to do with.
You're giving me the traveling bug now.
Yes, please. It's lovely when you go to the market and see how many variety of roses, and I don't know, with some flowers small and big, and I don't know, you fell in love with Mexico. Absolutely, and you can eat them too.
I know I will.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for your time, Jan. If you want to say a message for your Latin American audience, your fans, please, you are free to do it.
Well, all I can say is that I love you all. You have an amazing energy. I can feel the crazy, radiant smiles every time I get a lovely message from over there. You all claim to be my biggest fans, but I am definitely your biggest fan.
Thank you so much. And you need a big flower fight in Latin America. Probably that would be very interesting too. But
If you
of
find the
course,
program, I'll be on it.
of course, as Latins, we are very passionate. We probably will punch each other. So it will become like
It will be a
fights
fight.
at the end. Well, thank you so much for your time, Jan. Follow him
Right.
on
Well,
your
thank you very much,
Instagram.
Sabina.
Hmm.
I'll catch you soon.
Thank you, and we'll put your website so the people can see your most recent work and that can follow all your
We're
outfits
breaking up
and
quite badly.
yes, and all your what you're doing on internet.